Some book enthusiasts say that this book is very poisonous and will discourage many people. However, they hope that everyone can give more time, patiently read it, and help me see where the poison is. I was inexplicably traversed and almost eaten as soon as I arrived at the precious land. Escaping from the mountains, self-taught martial arts, encountered Dian Wei, defected to Cao Cao, saved Cao Ang, taught Cao Rui, and fought against Cao Pi. There are family and friendship, as well as regrets. Chapter 1. Wedge. The sound of grinding knives. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 2. Survival no matter what. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 3. Human Purgatory. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. Escape into the mountains. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. First delicious meal. You are listening at novel full.audio. Watching the crowd in front of me pass by, the dust it carried has not completely dissipated. The two leaders on horseback seemed to discuss something, and then the LU flag slowly moved forward, while the Zhang flag remained in place. The soldiers on horseback also began to dismount one by one, packing up their weapons and flags. They even took off the armor of these dead soldiers one by one and placed them on their horses. As for the body, it was thrown onto the roadside without any intention of burial or cremation, so it was thrown naked on the roadside. This group of people got back on their horses and then left, raising a cloud of dust. Chen-Xian didn't say much as he looked at the scene before him. In the past, when reading history books, what white bones were exposed in the wilderness, there were no roosters crowing for 1,000 miles, what easy children eat, and what people compete for food were just a few words in the book, and it was just a concept. Even those film and television works were just skipped images. Looking back again, the wild dog that had crawled out of nowhere smelled the smell of blood and began to gnaw around the pile of corpses. A chaotic person is not as good as a Taiping dog. Chen-Xian shook his head and struggled to return, holding on to something he had just searched for from below. When he returned, he carried a lot of things with him, but his speed slowed down significantly. He had to stop and rest for a while every distance he walked. I walked all the way to the west of the sun and finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. These big and small packages felt like I had gone to a market or bought a circle at the mall. However, looking at Chen-Xian's appearance, it seems that we have participated in a 0 yuan purchase. Chenya. Chen-Xian was a bit overwhelmed with just 2 weapons, as well as pottery jars and other things. Not long after, I saw figures swaying in the mountains and forests. A small figure came down from the mountain, not Chenya but Hu. Chen-Xian, who had already collapsed on the ground, panted and ordered, "Hurry up. Hurry up, while it's still dark. Look. Look, what's inside this bag. And then. Hurry up. Up the mountain." Chenya took a pottery jar first, then went to the stream to fetch some water and handed it to Chen-Xian. After Chen-Xian took it, he rested for a while, only watching Chenya open the big bag and search for something. "Chenya, remember, fire and salt must be preserved, you watch and handle the rest." The little girl quickly flipped through the things, and then disregarded everything and put it all in her bag without any packaging, with numerous mistakes in her random methods. Chen-Xian smiled as he watched the scene. He packed everything up again and hung the package on the little girl's body, handing her a broken pottery jar. He then took a spear, knife, and a broken pottery jar and started climbing the mountain. After casually eating some fish and meat that he had brought earlier, he continued to sleep soundly. The next morning, when Chen-Xian got up, he first went down the mountain and began to fish in the river. However, his tools were replaced with long guns, and the ultra-long gun body, combined with his thin figure, appeared somewhat comical on the river surface. Chenya, the little girl, was still waiting on the riverbank for Chen-Xian to throw the fish she had forked over. "Ha, I have it." After half a day of training yesterday, Chen-Xian's skills in forking fish have become more and more proficient. Not long after, he forked a fish, waved his hand hard, and threw it towards the shore. Just didn't throw it right, the little girl ran over and began to pounce on the ground. Watching the little girl's frantic appearance, Chen-Xian also smiled happily. It had been a long time since he smiled so heartfelt. In the previous life, although I had a good job income, I was often caught by my superiors working overtime. I woke up earlier than a chicken and slept later than a dog every day, and often worked all night. When I returned home, I felt completely drained. As soon as I got home, I just thought about lying on the sofa or bed, a typical Guyu paralyzed, so much so that I had no strength or desire for married life. The pace of modern life is really too fast. 996 is a blessing, 007 is the norm, there is no rest time at all, and the whole person also feels extremely depressed. Not to mention encountering various strange people and things, constantly tossing and consuming one's energy. But as soon as I entered this era, I was facing the situation of being eaten. I didn't have time to escape, and how could I settle down like I do now? There was someone by my side to accompany me. Even if I lived in a cave, I had to eat by myself. Every time I picked up the fish, Chen-Xian's heart was filled with joy, and Chenya would keep pouncing on the fish she threw at me. Rural life, there aren't so many pursuits, comparisons, and fast-paced activities. At this moment, the string in Chen-Xian's heart began to gradually relax. 2 more fish were forked, and Chen-Xian began walking towards the riverbank. He leaned on his spear and came to Chenya's side. At the top of the spear, there was another fish struggling and swinging its tail. "How's it going? Have you had enough to eat today?" "Well, save it today. It should be enough to eat. Did you find anything to ignite from that bag?" After eating raw food for many days in a row, Chen-Xian misses the taste of cooked food and the taste of salt. "Yes, there is." Chenya didn't know where on her body, flipped out a small purse, and then took out 2 stones from inside, gesturing in front of Chen-Xian. Chen-Xian glanced at it and said, "Okay, it's actually flint." Faced with such a situation, it's just a moment of helplessness. If only there were a lighter at this time, it would be great, and I'm not very good at using it myself. Anyway, the 2 of them first went to find some firewood, and then moved 3 stones on the riverbank to set up a simple stove. Chenya couldn't understand Chen-Xian's busyness, and looked at the stove he had set up. Although there were already cooks and stoves in the Han dynasty, the vast majority, especially in remote areas, still used simple triangular brackets to support cooking, rather than the way we use firewood stoves in rural areas today. Therefore, similarly, the waste of heat energy should also be relatively serious because it is impossible to gather fire. Why? Hurry up and start the fire. This is a stove, which is a bit rudimentary now. If conditions permit in the future, I will make it even more beautiful and convenient for you. After all, Chen-Xian has nearly 2,000 years of experience and has seen more than people in this era, but he dare not show too much. He is not a prodigy. Moreover, Hui was injured at an early age and had a deep affection for Zhang Guorong. Throughout history, extraordinary figures have emerged from a young age, with little to no good ending. Whether it was Hu Zubing, Cao Chong, Zhou Bai, or later Nailan Xingde, Zhang Guorong, and others, they either died from their own mental illness or their own personality. Chenya regained her senses and began to strike a fire with a flint. The fire hammer wouldn't appear until the southern and northern dynasties, but her strength was also weak. After trying a few times, she couldn't hit it, making the little girl anxious. Chen-Xian took the flint and, under the guidance of the little girl's professor, was still a bit unsure at first. After mastering it proficiently, he finally ignited the fire. Chen Xian carefully stabilized the fire, then scooped half a can of water from the river to show Qinya the fire and not let it go out. He ran to the riverbank and started cleaning up the fish, scaling, cutting open, removing dirt, and cleaning. With a dagger, Chen Xian managed to do everything. Then he took the cleaned fish and put it into a pottery jar, carefully cooked it, and waited to drink the fish soup later. But he instructed Qinya to bring some wild vegetables over and cook them together in the pot later. After so many days, it's rare to have a hot meal. What? Do you want to fry the fish first and then stew it in soup for it to taste good? Chen Xian immediately put down his tools in his hand. Come, come, come. In this era, this wilderness, come fry it for me and make it milky white. Not long after, Qinya grabbed a handful of wild vegetables and ran over. Some Chen Xian could recognize them, while others couldn't really name them. As for whether they could be eaten or not. As long as it doesn't kill people, it becomes. Chen Xian ran to the river, simply cleaned the mud and sand on the wild vegetables, and then regardless of the situation, he poured all the wild vegetables into the pot. Not long after, hot air began to emerge, and without a lid, the fragrance gradually became rich. Whether it was Chen Xian or Qinya, their Adam's apple couldn't help but move, and saliva accidentally flowed down. Is that okay? Qinya glanced at Chen Xian and asked. I don't know, it should be ready soon. Chen Xian looked at the situation and picked a few thin and straight sticks from the withered firewood before starting to sharpen them. The speed was very fast, and they turned into 2 pairs of chopsticks. Nah, take it, use this to eat. Chen Xian handed 1 pair to Qinya, and then began to scoop it up from the broken pottery jar. Perhaps it was a long time since they had eaten cooked food, with wild vegetables dipped in a fresh taste of fish soup and a little bit of salt added, that Chen Xian and his wife were extremely satisfied. In the end, Qinya even buried her head in a broken pottery jar and kept licking it, dodging the crack in the jar, which made Chen Xian feel a burst of joy. As for what, as long as one's skills improve, eating some fish soup is not an easy task. Qinya, do you want to move to a different place to live? Down the mountain, or something else? After finishing, Chen Xian found a big stone and lay on the riverbank sunbathing. The air inside the cave is not well ventilated and the humidity is heavy. If you stay there for a long time, it may have a significant impact on your body. Of course, the best place is to live by the riverbank, but considering the battlefield we saw yesterday and 2 people and horses fighting, living down the mountain at this moment is not the most ideal solution. Chapter 6. Not submitting and going to beat you up. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 7. Even if you die, you won't eat. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 8. This mountain cannot be upgraded. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 9. The Tiger Comes. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 10. Lethal Run. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text.